Nahu Mikey P. Mike Pribozie here for a special edition of In the Money Media on the Players Podcast side. And we're going to look at some of the special wagers for Keeneland here for the fall meet. This particular show is going to focus on the All-Turf Pick 3 for Sunday, October the 13th. Two guests with me, and these are two of the guys that are going to be working with me on the plus side, working on some of those trips that going into the Breeders' Cup this year, but both definitely do tons of work for us on the plus side and even on the free side. So Justin Christein, Will Humphrey, both you guys, welcome to a special edition of the Players Podcast here.
Thank you, Mike. Glad to be here. Will, glad to be with you.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to join you guys. I'm excited to get stuck into this All-Turf Pick 3 sequence.
Yeah, and Will was as obviously exercise rider for the Grand Motion stable, and he was busy, training horses all morning. So, Will, how'd your morning go out there?
Yeah, it was a good morning, successful morning. I breezed two horses this morning. The Grey Wizard had a little tune-up for Far Hills, where he's going to be running next Monday. I think they have a 2-mile stake. I think it's 150,000. So he's taking a slightly different route this time and going to be headed down there. But he felt great. And then I breezed a filly called Blush, who you may well remember actually ran in the EP Taylor not so long ago. She's recently joined Graham's barn, and she really impressed me this morning. So maybe that's a little inside scoop to put in the tracker.
We definitely love to have that. Justin was busy training his toddlers this morning, apparently, and working on the, some strollers. Justin, you're obviously big into the Breeders' Cup trip focus right now. We loved your work for the Derby and some of the bigger races this year. Got a little preview earlier in the week for the Classic as far as trips go, but talk a little bit about the trip work you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So we're going to be doing trips for hopefully all of the Breeders' Cup starters. And, it's a lot of work, and it always pays off. I never knew the Kentucky Derby horses as well as I did this year, having done the trips for all three of the preps. And having been watching races for a long, long time, hopefully we can point out some things to people that aren't in the running lines. I mean, that's the idea, and give them some subtleties that they can use to maybe make some wagers or toss in some horses that they might not have used otherwise. And Will's on board to help us with a bunch of the Euros this year, which will be huge because a lot of those races are really tough to watch. There's not always sectionals, and the ground can sometimes be unfamiliar. The terrain of the turf courses can be unfamiliar. So that's going to be, very helpful for this year's trip notes for the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, well, your experience obviously with being a jockey, over there for a lot of those races and those different things, your perspective is going to be greatly appreciated, especially when it comes to these types.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting stuck into these races. As you mentioned, I've ridden around most of the tracks in England and know how they play, whether they're more demanding or less demanding, whether they're speed favoring, not speed favoring. So I'm looking forward to. It's always tricky to then correlate that form over to sharp two-turn, flat and firm tracks in America. But it's a fun challenge to be taking on. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Your perspective, I think, is unique and something that's going to be very welcomed by us and our In the Money Plus viewers. So inthemoneypodcast.com/plus if you're interested in the plus side for the Breeders' Cup. Certainly plenty of extra information, and we're going to continue to plug that throughout a lot of these podcasts on the free side. So just you hear us mention it. If you're interested, go to the website and check it out. Okay, guys, Keeneland Sunday All-Turf Pick 3. Fantastic sequence here. Now, $3 minimum, which we like. Big fields, which of course we like. Justin, race number 4 to get us started. This is 2-year-old maiden special weights going long. Mile and a 16th. Very wide open race. How'd you get it started?
Yeah. So just to give Will a heads up, we're coming to you for Smart Union, Will. If you have any insight into this second time runner stretching out for Grand Motion, but I really loved the way Necessity raced first out. It doesn't show it in the PPs, but rewatching that race, this girl was on the lead for the first, I don't know, probably shading an eighth of a mile, and then got hammerlocked and started pulling behind a couple horses, and she wanted to run. And then on the gallop out, she galloped out in front of everybody and was really hard to pull up. The two horses that finished in front of her, Coretta and Bembridge Ledge, Coretta ran in the Miss Grillo and ran a good third. Now that was a little that trip was a little bit enhanced by the wackiness that went on around the far turn. Nonetheless, Coretta came back with a 73 buyer off of that, so improved it by a point. And Bembridge Ledge got a super wide trip at Keeneland last week and just had no chance. So this girl puts on the blinkers. I think she's going to be on the lead here, and I'll be surprised if she's not. And this is somewhere Giroux, he's really good with horses on or near the lead. He likes to get him out of the gate and get him into position early. So I think he fits this horse on the stretch out. Now, to be fair, looking at the numbers for Norm Cassie, he's not very good training turf horses, at least right now. He's 0 for 18 with 2-year-olds on the turf, 6% turf trainer overall. So I'm still going to keep her an A because I think she, to me, is the most likely winner. I'm going to use the Grand Motion horse, the 2 Smart Union, as a B, stretching out from 5.5. Although, Will, close your ears here. Grand Motion is 1 for 20 on the turf with 2-year-olds at Keeneland. I don't know what to make of that stat, but I can't ignore it. So she's going to be a B. She got bet first out. I'm not sure how strong that race was at Colonial. There were a couple of run backs that didn't run very well. The first 2 haven't run back yet. So maybe the jury's still out on that race. And then I'll use Serving Time as a B. DeVoe, second-time starter. She was wide on the first turn, like 4 wide and then 3 wide on the first turn. The winner came back to run second ahead in the Grade 1 Natalma at Woodbine. So that race came back good. The winner, at least, is very good. The Dam won her first start and her second start. So I can see this one improving a lot, a little bit of a rider upgrade to Jose Ortiz, DeVoe's main man. So I'm going to use the 2 Smart Union, the 3 Serving Time as Bs, and then I'll throw in the 12 Lady Authentic as a B. Chad Brown stretching out on turf. The Dam is also the Dam of that good runner that ran for him a couple of days ago at Keeneland. I think maybe Clever Mischief.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Half to Clever Mischief, which she ran an 80 on debut and then an 84 and then an 88 in her 3 turf races. So this one has a right to be a good one on turf. So I'll use that horse as a B also.
All right. Well, Justin likes the 2 Smart Union. Obviously, you have quite the inside perspective on that one. And I see that this horse does make your tickets. So let's hear about some Smart Union here.
Yeah, so she's a filly that I've ridden a lot. In fact, I rode her almost every day leading up to her debut. And she's always shown a lot at home. I personally think very highly of her. She's not a sprinter, though. And she ran like she wanted further on debut. They went pretty tepid fractions for a 5.5 furlong sprint at Colonial that day. And she still looks like she was almost struggling to keep tabs on them, but stayed on well. She's done great since that race, and I personally feel as if she's learned a lot from it and stepped forward. When you look into her pedigree as well, she's a half-sister to Mission of Joy. And if you look at Mission of Joy's past performances, she did exactly the same thing. She ran in a very similar style, sprinting on debut, stretched out to the turf next time, and broke her maiden. And I can see this filly doing the same. She's, as I mentioned, she's a filly that I really do think quite highly of. And she's been targeted at this meeting ever since she ran that first day at Colonial. The other nice thing that I like is that we've got 6 of these horses are exiting sprint races, and especially with the blinkers go on necessity, we haven't really seen that many forwardly placed horses doing well on the turf at Keeneland. And I just worry that some of them might fall in a hole turning for home. The nice thing with Smart Union is that she relaxes really, really well. And I feel that Johnny Velasquez will just be able to sit her off, position her accordingly to the pace. And unless I'm a terrible judge of a racehorse, I think she's, I think she should be good enough to be very competitive in here. I would then be interested in serving time underneath. Tremendous pedigree on this filly. She's out of a half sister to Westover, who was one of my favorite horses from back home a couple of years ago. And as Justin said, wide trip on debut, traveled well in between horses, just lacked that finishing punch that I would have ideally liked to have seen. But we can't get away from the fact that Sherry DeVoe is on fire at the moment. She started this meet really, really strongly. And, if she didn't think so highly of this filly, she would probably have opted to run elsewhere other than Keeneland. With Jose Ortiz getting aboard, entitled to improvement. And I think that there's more to come from serving time as well. So I would mainly lean on those 2.
Yeah, agree on necessity. Norm Cassie, second timers, he's 21% there. This horse comes out of a live race. I think you get blinkers, you get a little bit of a stretch out, but that's 7 for a long Kentucky Downs. I mean, that's very demanding, I think, as a first timer. So horse raced pretty well there. I'd give her quite a big chance in this spot. A horse you guys didn't mention, the 8 Winters Legacy. Now, the dam on this one, Winter Memories, was just a fantastic racehorse, really. I mean, she was, and she won on debut, but, she's multiple graded stakes, multiple grade 1 winner there, was able to win the Diana. Now, that was a long time ago, but she's produced some precocious ones. Jimmy Toner shows up with this one with nice works. And I'm not sure, this horse is training out at Fair Hill, so I'm not sure if Will has maybe seen this one out there, but one that I really think you need to have on tickets, especially going long, just the pedigree alone. And, a barn that necessarily, this is a homebred. So I think very capable, one that I want to use, and watch the board on this one. That's nice. It's leg 1, so you can really kind of see where they're at. If this horse takes no money, then I would probably maybe take a negative approach, but I'd imagine that she's going to take money in the race. And then a horse that's probably going to need to draw in is the 14 Poema. It's Paulo Lobo. Horses raced very well in 2 starts on the grass, just missed with second and twice. Now 3-1 morning line. If this one draws in, I do think that plays very well, especially from off the pace. Has already gone a 7.5 and a mile now, third time out. Has proven, I think, will very much suit this trip. So if the 14 draws in, definitely use. 7 and 8 I'd use. And then off Will's recommendation, I think I'd have the 2 as a little bit of a B type there to begin this all-turf pick for on Sunday. Let's go to race number 6. And they're going 1.5 miles here. It's a 2X on the grass. Will, what found your eye here?
What found my eye was the 9 Queen Regent. Maybe sometimes I'm a little biased to horses coming over from Britain, but I was really taken with this horse's performance off the bench at Kentucky Downs last time. I don't know what she beat, the value of that form particularly, but, to win 1 mile and 5/16 allowance off of a 229-day break, first start in America, is pretty taking. Beautiful pedigree on this filly as well. She's a half to 3 individual graded stakes winners from back over the pond. And when I dug back into her British form, she had a terrible habit of One day she would drift right across the track. The next day she would drift to the left. And in her last start in England, John Gosden applied cheek pieces to her for the first time, and she ran a career best. She then came over here, and Brendan Walsh kept the cheek pieces on her, and she was obviously very impressive then. And I wonder whether she's always just held a little bit back, and now that she's got the cheek pieces on, she's starting to realize her full potential. She's entitled to take a step forward from that run, and as it came off of such a lengthy layoff. And when I did some digging into Brendan Walsh's record with foreign shippers, he's had 10 foreign shippers who have won first off the bench for him in their first starts in America, and then run back subsequently. And of those 10 winners, 4 went on to win stakes races, 3 became graded stakes winners, and 7 became graded stakes place performers. And though with the Qatar bloodstock behind this filly, that's a stat that I can't really shy away from, having been so impressive first time out. So I was going to lean on her as my top play. I also took some interest in the rail horse Boss Lady Bailey. 2 starts back at Saratoga, stretched out in distance to 1 mile 3/8, and I didn't feel that there was any fluke about that win. In behind her that day finished Just Denny, as well as Idea Generation, who came back to win the Flower Bowl. She clearly didn't hate Kentucky Downs at all last time, but if she can run back to that race at Saratoga 2 back, I think she's got a legitimate shot of going very close at least here. And then the other one that I was going to use was the 3. I felt that when she finished third at Kentucky Downs last time behind Broadway Boogie, she just looked like her fitness started to get the better of her towards the finish there, off the layoff. And I think she's got another step forward in her. IRAD gets aboard today. So it'd be interesting to see what the betting public do with her, but I still feel that she's young enough and unexposed enough over this distance that she could be better than she's shown so far.
Agree on a lot of those, really. I have 1, 3, and 9 on my tickets. The 12 to 1 morning line there, John Ortiz, I really like everything that he puts on the track. I mean, and this horse, only 2 for 16. I'm sure that they were, hoping for more, paying $550 for this one. But I think the distance, maybe they have figured this horse out a little bit. I'm willing to pitch that last line on August 29th. So I think that one's a use. Agree on the 3. You get IRAD here for Christoph. Like you said, maybe might have needed that one. The 9's very obvious. I do think a lot of money will run through that one. Queen Regent there, especially off that nice win, while favored off that long bench, and really the distance will be no issue. I probably would include the 10 Broadway Boogie, just the 2X. This horse is third off a double bar layoff there, and has taken money in both starts. Lightly raced, I do think could get a closing type trip, which we've already talked about is beneficial over this track. Justin, where did you end up?
Well, I ended up at the front door for some lady that was ringing my doorbell, and we're watching my wife's parents' dog, and he just went nuts. Of course, we get people ring our doorbell probably 3 times a year, and it happened to be during this podcast. So that's when, of course, it would happen. All right, so let me see. Queen Regent, of course, is an A for me. Now, I mean, can we agree that she's going to be the favorite?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see how this horse is 9-2. I know making these lines is tough, but I don't see any way this horse is not the favorite for all the reasons that Will suggested. That debut in America was super impressive. And I think she can win right back. Tyler Gaffleone is putting these horses in the exact right spots. And yeah, she's got an immense talent. She's got a great pedigree. So she's an A for me. Lucky Combination, the Clement runner, is an A for me. This is your second off the layoff. She's a a fall 4-year-old now. I think she's going to run her best race, and this is what she wants to do. She wants to go long. Watching her race is, she's a big filly, and she's gonna get a good trip from in there. I think she's gonna probably secure the rail because the 2 horses to her inside have no speed. That's gonna ensure she gets a cozy trip, and you can't go wrong with Irad in the saddle. So she's an A for me. And then Marksman Queen, and I'll be interested, Will, if you have any additional input on Marksman Queen. It's just watching some of her races, it seems like she might want this 1.5 mile distance. And I'm pretty sure she's going to be on the lead. And she's got Frankie Dettori aboard. And, I have faith in no one like Graham Motion when it comes to these marathon turf races. So I just think that we haven't seen the best from this miss because she's going to stretch out. Now, the dam of Dubawi ran basically all 1.125 to 1.5 mile races. So there's some pedigree there. Now the dam was strictly a mile and a 16th racehorse. So mixed signals in the pedigree. I just think that this horse might be on the lead and might forget to stop. So I'm going to use the 3 as an A, the 9 as the A, and then the 8 might be like an A-, B+ type horse for me.
Will, any thoughts on the 8 there, real quick?
I don't ride this filly often, so I wouldn't be overly clued in on her. My issue with her, I have sat on her a couple of times, and she has a bad habit of just doing too much too early in her races. She's very keen. And I looked at this race. I think that the 6 is going to go forward as well. And I just fear that they're going to get hooked up. When you look at her running lines there, she's particularly in her last start, she was on the lead and then weakened going 1 mile and 16th. And I just don't think she's going to get this trip.
So, this is like valuable insight because this stuff you can't find in the past performances.
Correct.
And, that's why Will's insight into these horses is so important, because that will definitely make me want to downgrade her to a B or a C. And then in the previous race, I will probably upgrade the Graham Motion horse to an A just based on, Will's insight being on the horse. How often do you get that kind of insight? So this is good stuff that's not in the past performances.
Could I just move back to that previous race and just stick there with Jimmy Toner's horse, the 8, the Winter Memories filly. I actually spoke to Jimmy yesterday morning. He was standing on the rail as I was on a horse, and I asked him about this filly because I was also very interested in her. And he said his words were that she's nothing like her mother. She's very leggy, will be better as a 3-year-old, and he's not particularly expecting anything special on Sunday. So that's some other Fairhill gossip for you.
Love it. That certainly is going to change tickets, and I would imagine it change a lot of people's perspective. And that horse will take money in there on pedigree alone. Absolutely. So absolutely excellent insight. And like you said, some Fairhill gossip here for the pod. Let's go to race number 8 to finish out. Grade 2 Franklin Stakes here. And this is 3 and up fillies on the turf, 5.5 furlongs. The return of Star of Mystery, Justin, but didn't exactly scare anybody away here. Full gate. Yeah,
pretty amazing. And those 2 runs versus the boys, it's third by 3 3/4 to Cogburn, clearly stamps her as the one to beat. I'm not exactly sure about that post draw, because the way I envision the race falling out of the gate, the 2 horses to her outside, have, as much tactical speed as her. And, going into that turn, it can get a little tight. And, she may just be good enough to overcome it. But I can envision a scenario where she gets into a little trouble down there. And, at even money or 6-5, I want to definitely have some other options. So obviously the horse to beat, obviously an A for me. My top pick, though, is Future Is Now. This horse is fast and she can finish. And I think she's going to get a great trip sitting right off the 4. I don't think anybody's faster than these two. And she might just get the jump on everybody else, and she can finish, and she wants to win. She's got the right jock on her. Paco's not going to take any prisoners out of the gate. He's going to be hounding the 4. And I hope it's enough for her to kick clear in the end. The 10 is a little bit interesting. I'll use the 10 as a B off of that last trip. Had the lead early, was sort of tight in the stretch from about the 3/16 to the 8th pole along the rail. It was hard to tell because of the camera angles at Kentucky Downs if she was blocked or a little hesitant to go through there. But there was a stretch where she couldn't go anywhere. Now Ortiz is off, which I don't know. Maybe sometimes we read too much into this musical jockey stuff. But I did take note of it. I don't love the 10 post for her at Keeneland going 5.5. But she's 20-1 in the morning line. So I'm going to use her as a B. And then, of course, we can't talk about this race without talking about Roses for Deborah. And I'll be anxious to hear what both of you think. It just looks to me like she's in a similar pattern to last year in September and November when she started to tail off. And I know she won at Priescale, and she showed some improved speed in that race, which is a positive. But man, she only won with an 89 buyer, and I'm a little worried that she's not the same mare that she was. And so I'm going to take a skeptical approach of her. I will probably use her on one backup ticket with my A's in the other 2 races, just because she may be 7-2, 4-1, and I can't miss out on her if she's that priced. But I'm a little bit skeptical on her. So I'm 1-5 as an A, and then a little bit of 3, and then 10 as B's in here.
All right, so you say you're skeptical on Roses for Deborah. I am not. I am interested in her quite a lot here. I do think that if you look back, her best race ever was over this course, and that was back in April. 101 figured there from off the pace. Now that the racetrack so far has played to off the pace run. There's plenty of speed for her to chase in here, and now she's 3rd back. Now she ran into Futures Now earlier in the year and got picked off there up at Saratoga in June. Since then, lost to that one again in August, but showed up at Prescal to win that Prescal Masters. And that is a typically difficult race every year. And that was sort of a different thing for her. I mean, they were going 6.5 there, and that's really not her gig. I mean, if you look back, she has like 6 furlong race and basically the past year and a half, almost 2 years. Now, she did win that race, but she prefers it shorter. I think that this is more her game. I like the fact that she was off the pace and was able to win. Now, she was favored in there, but even still, that was a different spot. She improved her figure. Now she shows up in this race. I think she gets a perfect trip behind the speed. The thing is she just has to get the jump on Star of Mystery. That's the key. And she's going to be a big separator in this race. A lot of the money is going to flow through Star of Mystery here. So I do think if Roses for Deborah, who's shown ultra talent and has shown she likes this course, is going to get her trip, that if she's back to herself, and I don't really see her tailing off, especially off that nice win at Prescal here, the fact that they're in this race, I think, says a lot. So I like her here a lot. And I do agree that Star Mystery is the horse to beat. Her talent alone is just massive, and the races that she's raced. But this could be a prep also. So, Will, I know you like Star Mystery. Talk about this race a little.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what the betting public do with Star of Mystery, because Charlie Appleby, obviously, and I think people have cottoned on to the fact that he hasn't been so dominant in America this year than he was last year. She's coming off of a 3-month break. and the rail is obviously a huge concern. So it is going to be interesting to see. I expect that she will probably be odds on in here. But it's going to be interesting to see how much she drifts under that 3-2 morning line odds. For me, it was a case of we might just be overcomplicating this, and it's going to be a case of the best horse wins the race, because I do think that she is, to state the obvious, probably a cut above this field. I mean, you look back at a 107 buyer in her last start, but even going back to her form in Maidan, I mean, to get within 3/4 of the length of California Spangle, who at the time was probably the best sprinter in the world, I mean, that's as solid form as you can get. And the rail is obviously a concern, but for me, it was a case of in Flavien Prat we trust. Very rarely do you see Flavien Prat getting into traffic trouble. He's just a phenomenal turf rider, and he's going to be very well aware of the fact that he's on the rail, and he's not going to want to get stuck in behind traffic. So I think that he's going to probably get aggressive on the gate out. Sorry, get aggressive out of the gate on Star of Mystery. And she showed back in the Jaipur that she has the speed to sit close enough. She was only 2 lengths behind Cogburn when they were cooking on the front end that day in the Jaipur. And I could see us sitting in the second or third flight of horses here, and Flavien Prat working his magic, finding it daylight, and I think it's going to be game over. In opposition, I think that we can't get away from the fact that Christophe Clement has 2 very live horses in here. And in the last 2 months, Christophe Clement has gone 13 for 35 in stakes races, which is 37%, with 71% in the money and a $3.63 ROI. So that's something that you can apply to the entire weekend, really. His horses are firing, and Roses for Deborah and Don't Look Back at All. I mean, you guys have already made strong cases for them, and they look, they both have legitimate chances if Star of Mystery, for whatever reason, doesn't show up. And then Future Is Now, I envisage that she's probably going to be setting the pace in here, and she's just a really tough, hard-knocking customer. Paco Lopez goes down there to ride, which is always a great sign. And for a horse as consistent as her, I don't think that you can rule her out either. So main pick would be Star of Mystery, as uninspiring as it is, with then the 3, 5, and 6 as backups in there.
Well, guys, we've gone a little long here, but I do think that everyone will value that they spend the time here looking at this all turf pick for Sunday, October the 13th. Final thoughts here, Justin. Go first, and obviously this is the team that's going to bring you your trip notes for the In the Money Plus for the Breeders' Cup. But final thoughts: how you gonna get involved there on Sunday on this pick 3?
Yeah, and I'll play a tight ticket. I might play one backup ticket with Roses for Deborah be in the last, and then I might play one backup ticket with my B's in the first leg. But I try to keep it really tight. Like I'll play probably for twice the amount. My A's 1 by 3 by 2, and then for $3, which is the minimum here, I'll play 2 separate tickets, B, A, and then A, B in the last, which won't cost me that much because I'm only gonna probably back up with Roses for Deborah. But yeah, it's a sequence And the $3 pick three, you know, in my opinion, you can't get too spready because the price gets way too high really quickly. So it forces you to have opinions, and it forces you to play tight. And, you know, unlike the 50-cent increment, you just can't spread willy-nilly all over the card. And I think it's a very cool wager to actually makes you a better handicapper and a better bettor.
Well, $3 minimums there. You jumping in? A lot of these motion horses involved.
Yeah, I'll be jumping in, and Justin stole all my thunder there, to be honest with you, because I was going to say pretty much exactly the same thing. Keep it pretty tight, because it's the sort of sequence that if you don't do that, you could go in so many different directions here and quite quickly work up a pretty expensive ticket. So, yeah, be confident in your selections, and let's see what we can do, I guess.
How about you, Mike? You jumping in, Mike?
Yeah, I'll be in, and I might change a few things here. Just a lot of the things I've learned from this podcast, especially with some of the horses I liked and some of the perspectives from both you guys. Sure. I do think it's interesting, but I will be looking to maybe get Roses for Deborah over in that last leg and get some separation there, because I do think it's going to pay well. So I'm going to be in. This was fun though, guys, and I think we might be able to do it again. So there's a couple more all turf pick threes going on in the meet, so hopefully we can get back together and run it back.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been a production of In the Money Media. We'd like to thank Keeneland for their sponsorship, and we got some new ideas here, some different shows. We hope you guys are enjoying it. We'll see you guys next time. Like Pete says, may you win all your photos.